My name is Ethan. I'm the college essay guy. And this is 5 college essay questions that counselors should be able to help their students answer. So this was originally a presentation that I gave to a group of college counselors. And it occurred to me that this would be really useful to give to parents and to students, and really to anybody who's looking to get some help on the college essay. That's my specialty. It's my passion. It's my jam. It's what I do. So here goes. Let's dive in. So I love buffets. I'm a huge buffet fan. I didn't grow up with a lot of money, so buffets are like heaven to me. One of my favorite buffets is the Bellagio buffet in Las Vegas, Nevada, which you'll see on the first slide here. And they've got this ridiculous section of like crab legs and seafood. They've got these amazing desserts, like, a whole section of desserts. They've got, like Kobe beef and Wellington lamb and really wonderful, beautiful greens. And I mentioned the desserts. Okay, you get the idea. Why I'm showing you this buffet is because what I'm giving you today over the next 40 minutes or so is 157 college essay resources for counselors, parents, and students. And it's more resources than you can possibly consume in total. So what I want to do is allow you to just grade. I'm going to give you a bunch of resources, and you can come back to them. Everything's going to be on my website, collegeessayguide.com. But I'm going to give you kind of a little taste of each one. Okay? And there's a connection to this whole college essay world through a quote from Lola May, who said there are 3 things to remember when teaching. Know your stuff, know whom you are stuffing, and then stuff them elegantly. So beware that you don't get so stuffed that you end up like this guy. But anyway, here goes. And here are the 5 questions that I get all the time. Number 1, how do I figure out what to write about? Number 2, how do I structure my essay? 3, how do I outline it? How do I revise it? And how do I bring my essay to life? In other words, how do I make it not boring? And we're going to do all that in 40 minutes, or at least I'm going to give you some resources so that you can begin your essay, or if you're a counselor or a parent, you can help your student with their essays. Here we go. First question, what do I write about? Okay. So I've spent a lot of time doing a lot of different brainstorming exercises, and this one is absolutely my favorite. So this is called the Essence Objects exercise. And I'm not going to do the whole thing for you right now. I'm just going to explain it to you, and then if you want, I'll give you a resource where you can check it out. It's a 15-minute exercise, and it involves choosing objects from your life that are essences for who you are. So specific objects that really somehow typify something. So for example, when I'm working in schools, which is pretty often, I always carry a green pen with me. And a green pen for me is an essence object, because my green pen, I always grade in green, because I don't like to grade in red. It looks to me kind of violent or bloody. But green for me, even in our culture, rather than saying stop, it says keep going. And that's the essence, or an essence that I want to communicate to the students. Keep going, as opposed to stop. So that's an essence object, a green pen. So if you want to check out more of how this exercise works and do the brainstorming exercise, you can go to the College Essay Guide website and just click on Objects Exercise. It's free. It's going to take you 16 minutes and 23 seconds, and it's the first resource. Oh, and here's the website, collegeessayguide.com. And if you see that, that's how you'll know if you've gotten to the right place. My second favorite exercise, and this is the second resource, is a values exercise. And this takes about 4 minutes to do. So what it involves is choosing what are the top 10 values for you, the things that are the most important to you. So for today, if I were to look at this values sheet, for example, my top values would be something like security, just knowing, or stability, I would say, just feeling balanced. Travel, I'm traveling right now in Indianapolis for the National Association of College Admissions Counselors, so I'm kind of excited. Excitement is the third one I would put on there. What else? Adventure. I guess travel and adventure are kind of connected, but I'm in a hotel right now, and I kind of think of hotels as being adventurous. So those are my values for today. The exercise, the purpose of it is to track for a student what are the most important values to you in your life. And there are lots of different applications for them, I say. But very briefly speaking, if you don't know what you want to do, like in your career or after college, you can focus on the end of your essay. You can focus on the values that are very important to you, no matter what. No matter what you choose, no matter what career you choose. And if you do know what you want to do, chances are the values will connect to your career. So let's say, for example, you want to be a doctor. Well, look at some of these values. Why do you want to be a doctor? Because why you want to be a doctor is going to be different from why I want to be a doctor. So if you look at some of these, for example, courage might be a reason why you want to be a doctor. For someone, it might be responsibility. I like having responsibility. I like what it does for me. And I like, for someone else, it might be helping others. So for everyone, whatever career it is, there are going to be different values that kind of lead you into it. And I would argue that once you get to your career, that's not the be-all end-all. Your career is actually the means to a greater end. And the greater end, I believe, is expressing and experiencing your values. So rather than thinking, my values will help me get to my career, switch it. It's like my career is going to help me express these values. So that's the second resource, and it's on the website. Okay, so I live in California, and I work with a lot of students on the UC1 prompt. That's the University of California prompt, number 1, which asks, describe the world you come from, and tell us how your world has shaped your dreams and aspirations. Okay? Big question, a great question, really beautiful question to think about. And I think that if you write a really good answer to this question, then it's going to work for the Common App essay number 1. So, fun tip, this is an additional bonus resource. If you write a really good answer to the UC1 prompt, I believe you bring a really good Common App essay. But you've really got to answer the question. And here are 7 brainstorming questions I love. So we're still kind of in the brainstorming world. What's the toughest lesson you've ever had to learn? What's the hardest thing you've ever had to overcome? What's your life question? Describe a time when your belief system was formed, tested, or changed. That's from This I Believe, NPR. I wouldn't be who I am today without blank. Why am I blank? Why do you want to go on into a certain career? Or what experience shifted your molecules? Like you were one way, and then this thing happened. And you were different. What was that experience? So those are some more resources, and I'll stop mentioning those. They're resources 3 through 9. I'll stop numbering them in a little bit because that's kind of annoying. But those are some more brainstorming questions I love. But my favorite brainstorming question is this. Is this my deepest story? And you can ask yourself this at any point in the process. And how do you know if it's your deepest story? Well, you can kind of feel it in your gut. And this is kind of a woo-woo thing to say, but when someone is sharing from their deepest story, their deepest truth, there's something that happens. There's like a calming that happens, a kind of like a quiet. And oftentimes, after someone has shared his or her deepest story, the response from the other person is often quiet, sometimes silence, or maybe a few seconds or even a couple minutes. So that's, I think, how you begin to know you're sharing your deepest story. You can kind of feel it. If you read the essay and it feels a little superficial to you, chances are it's still a little superficial. It's an opportunity to go deeper. How do you do that? Well, I'll give you some more resources at the end, but some of these exercises are some ways to do that. Okay, question 2. How do I structure my essay? I get this question a lot. And I just want to go back to that UC1 prompt. Describe the world you come from and tell us how it's shaped your dreams and aspirations. So there are 2 parts to this, right? There's the world you come from, your past. How has it shaped, influenced your dreams and aspirations, your future? So basically it's asking, how has your past shaped your future? Right? It's putting nicer words on it. But in working with students on this prompt for 10 years now, I found that my students really are writing essays that fall into one of these 4 types of categories. So I don't call these types of students, I'm calling these types of essays because you're infinitely complex and you can write a bunch of different kinds of essays. Here are 4 types of essays that you could write. So in the type A category, students who have faced challenges and know what they want to study. So actually, let me pop back a second before we get into the 4 types. And I want you to ask yourself, whether you're a parent, student, or counselor, in terms of the world you come from, have you been through challenges or not? And if we were live, I would ask you to raise your hand if you've been through some challenges. Okay. And in terms of your dreams and aspirations, do you know what you want to study? Do you know what you want to do in life or not? I would have you raise your hand. Okay, that's a better setup. So, here are the 4 types of essays that you could write based on those 2 questions. Number 1, number A, letter A. The student has faced challenges and knows what he or she wants to study. Category B, student has not faced challenges but knows what he or she wants to study. Category C, the student has faced challenges but does not know what he or she wants to study. And category D, the student has not faced challenges and does not know what he or she wants to study. That can be a little tricky to work with, but it's possible. And my theory here, sort of my framework for everything that I do as a college work, is that each type of student and each type of essay requires a different approach. And so what we're going to look at very briefly today is the 4 different types of approaches for these 4 types of essays. Sometimes I get the question, should I tell a story of my life or from my life? Meaning, should I go through the whole darn thing, or should I focus on one particular thing? Personally, I believe either can work. We're going to talk today about narrative structure and montage structure. What those briefly are, narrative structure comes from screenwriting, which is my background. It's telling a story that has events that are causally connected. In other words, A led to B, led to C, led to D. So Finding Nemo is a movie in which, Dad and Nemo are together, and then they get separated, and then they come back together. That's a narrative story. Montage structure jumps around a little bit more, and the connections in the essay, or if it's a film, and not many films in America use the structure, it jumps around with the connections and back. So it's not like this led to this, led to this. It's more like, here are some things about me, or here are some different ideas, and they're all connected to the same idea, thematic thread. We'll talk about that in a second. I just said that. Okay, so here's a narrative structure example from what's called the Porcelain God essay. And you can find this essay on the website as well. Just go to the search bar and type in Porcelain God. But it begins with what's called status quo. Status quo in the narrative structure just means it's where the story began. It's like it was just another ordinary day at Springfield. And in this case, in this student's essay, she writes, I was eating Chinese food with my parents one day. And we come to the inciting incident. It's the moment that starts the story, launches our story. Something happens. She writes, suddenly I found myself bowing down to the porcelain god. Which she's throwing up. Raising the stakes, things become more and more important. I was in anaphylactic shock. I became, which means she was allergic to peanuts. She writes, I became scared of death, eating and eating my own body. So things become more and more important in this story. The denouement, what happens next, or the moment of truth. As I learned more about the medical world, I became more fascinated with the body's immune responses, specifically how a body reacts to allergens. My regular visits to my allergy specialist inspired me to become an allergy specialist. So how did her world shape her dreams and aspirations? This one was pretty clear. But her world, being allergic, and spending time with the doctor and the allergy specialist, led her to want to become an allergy specialist. The new status quo is as representation that something has changed from the very beginning. So whereas at the beginning, I was eating Chinese food with my parents one day, the new status quo, or actually, I guess the status quo could be that she was afraid all the time. The new status quo, I want to study biology so I can one day help others so they won't have to feel the same fear that I felt. So she goes from fearing her own body, fearing death, eating, to wanting to help others. Take away their fear. Okay, so that's a narrative structure example. Here's a quick montage structure example. Oops. You'll find a montage structure example on the website. Just search for machine. You'll find it. For some reason, I have two slides in the same book. I can tell you what it is. Basically, the student in the machines essay wanted to become an endodontist, a type of dentist. And so in that essay, he tracks all these different values that you don't know he's going towards at the end, but all these different values led him to become the perfect dentist. So that's another possibility. I believe a good college essay should either go deep, discussing one moment that really, really changed your life. So that's telling a moment, a story from your life. Or go wide, discussing many different elements of your life. And going wide could mean telling your life story. It's hard to do in 650 words, but it's totally possible. Narrative structure is going to help you go deep, I think, discussing that one particular moment. And montage structure is going to help you go wide. So, the third question again. How do I outline my essay? Sorry, I know I'm going really fast, but all the resources are on the site. How do I outline my essay? Okay, so when it's time to outline your essay, when you've got the content, and you feel like this is my story, I know what I want to write about, you have some ideas about structure and how you want to tell it. Here's how to outline it. First, decide on the big chunks. This is a chunk. Good. What do I mean by the big chunks of your story? Well, what I mean basically is decide on the beginning, middle, and end of your story. So Aristotle, back in the day, believed that the story has a beginning, a middle, and end, or it should. And that's all you need to do, is to decide where does the story start. So, like I said, the Finding Nemo example, Dad and Nemo are together, Dad and Nemo are apart, Dad and Nemo are back together. For the Porcelain God essay, I was eating peanuts, I started to throw up, I realized I was allergic, I was really afraid, I started to go to the doctors a lot, became less afraid, now I want to be an allergy specialist so that I can help take away the fear from others. So that was kind of like 5 chunks. But you can decide on the first 3 to 5 chunks of your essay. Oh, and so here's that montage structure example from the Machines essay. Here are the big chunks of his essay. First he says, I've always been curious. Talks more about that in the paragraph. Then he says, I've always been working with my hands for years. He says, I've also always been obsessed with details. Oh, and I'm a math geek. I love sharing my knowledge with others. All these qualities will serve me well in my career as not an engineer, he's got kind of a misdirect in the essay, but an endodonticist, a dentist. And like I said, you can check out that whole essay on the website. But you can see that they're the big pieces. And if you can figure out what the big pieces are, the next step is then to begin connecting and finding through lines. And that can take you a while. It can take you a couple days, a couple hours, a couple days, a couple weeks. But begin by finding what are the big pieces of the story. Okay. Step 2. So once you've got the big chunks, it depends on the essay type. And I'm going to move through the different essay types for what to do next. So this is basically the 6-minute version of something called the Complete Guide to Writing a Personal Statement that's on my site. And I have a student version and a counselor version. So if you're writing an essay and you're a student, you want the whole deal of this, check out the site. If you're a counselor and you're helping a group of students or, a student, so here's the 6-minute version of how to outline any essay. Okay. With a student who's faced significant challenges and knows what he or she wants to study, the challenge is this. How do you connect the challenges, in other words, the past, to the career, the future? How do you do that? Well, I think it's through the values. Go back to that values list and notice that little thing at the bottom of the page. Your challenges led to your values, which lead to your career. So think about that a second. If you've been through something difficult, your parents are divorced. What value did that lead to? Wow, it led to instability, it led to chaos. But then eventually it led to some good things like adaptability. So, this sometimes helps to think through this with somebody, but thinking about what values were shaped through your challenges, and then how could adaptability, that's going to lead to any career. So you could ostensibly connect your parents' divorce, which is something like seems totally unrelated to, let's pick a random career, being a restaurant owner. Divorce, restaurant owner, how do they connect? Well, my parents got divorced, chaos, I became really adaptable. That adaptability is going to serve me in my career as a restaurant owner, because there's going to be lots of different changes that come in. Notice that can work for anything. But the value is like the secret glue for the essay. So I love that values list. It's so important. Okay, part B, or student B rather. A student who's not faced challenges but knows what he or she wants to study. The trick is, how do you demonstrate that you have what it takes to be an excellent, whatever, restaurant owner or engineer? Okay. So I say reverse engineer your essay by beginning with the end of your essay, in other words, your career in mind. How do you do that? Like this. Brainstorm the qualities of an excellent person in your future career and put it in the right column. So if you look at that list at the bottom, qualities of a great endodontist from the essay I mentioned already. So a desire to help others, for example. And I actually asked the student, I said, what does it take to be a great endodontist? And he's like, it's got to be detail focused and interested in the human body, be curious. And I say, okay, great. Now tell me next, how have you shown those values in your life? So that's what I'm going to have you write in the left column. So in the right column, qualities of a great person in your career. In the left column, how you've specifically shown each of those qualities, how you've demonstrated those. And they should be visual. If you can make them visual, that's going to make it pop more as a story. That's a screenwriting trick, but it's really just storytelling. Get us to imagine it. So look at some of these. Designing my own shoes is the way that he demonstrated that he's detail focused. You can kind of see him designing his own shoes. Imagine that. Or always asking questions to the kid as an example in the essay where you can see from that. So before I move on, the trick is with that essay, first column on the right side, here are all the qualities of a great blank. Second column, here's how I've shown all those values. And then, that's basically an outline for your essay. Just put them in chronological order. Or if you want to kind of make it interesting and jazz it up, switch around the order and do a flashback or something. And then don't reveal what you want to be until close to the end, because it's a little bit more interesting. If you start with, I want to be a doctor, and then here's all these times, it's kind of boring. But if it's like, here are all these qualities, what is that up to? And the reader's going to be it's going to give the reader something to figure out too. Then it's like, oh, that's why I would be a great doctor. It's just a little more interesting to read. Okay, type C. If you face challenges but you have no idea what you want to study, here's what I say. Once you talk about overcoming your challenges, well, actually, here's the challenge. Once you talk about overcoming your challenges, how do you end the essay? I get that question from students a lot. So what I suggest is if you've got a tough story and you've been through some stuff, write about how you've been through that stuff. How do you end it, though? Secret. Look to your values, because they're going to be with you no matter what career you choose. And here's another secret of this 3-part structure you can use. So talk about the challenges in the first 25%. It's going to be tempting to write about the challenges a lot. In the first draft might even be like 80%. Here's all the crap I've been through. Work with somebody or work with yourself to revise, to really bring it down. So you get that in the first quarter, first third of the essay. This is the stuff I've been through. Question 2, what did you do about it? How did you take action? And then part 3, what did you learn about it? So challenges, First quarter, what did you do about it? Basically the second and third quarters. Fourth quarter, what did you learn? Now, sometimes it takes, you've been through so much stuff, it takes 2 quarters to explain the challenges, then you only get 1 quarter what I did about it, 1 quarter what I learned. I made a video about this. If you just Google significant challenges, college essay guide video, you'll see like an 18-minute video that analyzes an essay and shows how to do that. Okay, so for Type D students, the challenge is how do you describe who you are and what you'll contribute to a college campus in an interesting and cohesive way, despite the fact you've had no challenges and you have no particular career in mind. Okay, 3 secrets. I did 2 there. 3 secrets. Number 1, find a placeholder using this amazing resource called Do What You Are, and then write a Type B outline. I'm going to go through what these things mean. A placeholder is something that you put in place that you can then switch out later if you need to. So let's say you're interested in a few different qualities that are connected kind of to travel and maybe languages. Well, maybe you want to study international relations. And part of what Do What You Are does is it helps you, based on your personality, figure out some potential careers that might be interesting. So one thing you can do, so option 1 is to pick a career. Pick some kind of thing that you'd like to study in college. You don't even have to sign up for your life. It's just, here's something that I might be interested in studying for a few years. Find a placeholder, and then write that Type B outline, which is like, okay, so somebody who would need to be good at international relations, what are the qualities of that person? And then how have you demonstrated those qualities or come to those qualities? Like what made you start liking travel? Or what was the other thing? Languages. When did you start getting interested in languages? So put those in chronological order. So maybe languages came first, and then you started to travel, and maybe they came together. It's articulating those things that can help answer the question, how's your world shaped your dreams and aspirations? Again, I think that's such a great question. You don't have to use that for your essay, but I think it's a really good one. Okay, so option 1, find a placeholder using this awesome book that you can get on Amazon. I don't get paid for saying that. And then write a Type B outline. Okay, option 2, you can find a framing device based on something you love. So I've been working with students in the past who, were working one-on-one in the session, and we're like, I had, for example, the first student here, the example. She's like, I don't know what I want to write. And I'm like, well, what do you love? What are you good at? And she's like, I like scrapbooking. So she ended up writing an essay that became a scrapbook of her life. All these different images that showed this cool montage of all these different things that were important to her. At the end, I said this on the CSA, how do you end the essay like that? End with the values that are going to be important to you no matter what career you choose. Another student loved applied math. So his essay was how I see the world through applied math. Another student loved travel and language. I mentioned that earlier. So he wrote an essay about how traveling and language have shaped his life. Okay, option 3. This is the break in case of emergency option. First, decide which qualities you'd like to show. And this is like if it's like last minute, you should be able to write. You should be able to have more time in this. But let's say it's the last night and you're super stressed and you've got to turn something in. Just decide which qualities of yourself you'd like to show. So go to that values list or make a list of things that you'd like to demonstrate about yourself. And then instead of ending with your future career, like I said, naming the values that are going to be important to you no matter what. And if you look at the scrapbook essay, it's on the College Essay Guide website. Okay, question 4. How do I revise my essay? And this is, I'm not going to go too in depth into this, but basically I figured out a method. And if you Google College Essay Guide, how to revise your essay in 5 steps, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to keep sending you to the website, but I just couldn't go over it all in this session. So how do you revise your essay? Actually, yeah, I think it may be too long, but basically the gist of it is this. Decide what each paragraph should do, and this is what that article says. Decide what each paragraph should do, and then make sure that you have a topic sentence that's really clear, a really clear thesis, main idea for each of the paragraphs. And if you don't, make it aspirational, so what you would like that paragraph to say, and then write those. And so you can even do this after you've written a full draft. So do this. Highlight the first sentence of each paragraph, put it in bold, and then read those aloud, and see if the flow of your essay is working. If not, rewrite those first sentences. Like I said, aspirationally, what would you like that paragraph to say or do? Make sure that they all connect to one another. And then rewrite the essay so that they work with those new topic sentences. Okay, that's the gist of it. You can go to the website to find out more about how to do that. Okay, how do I bring my essay to life? In other words, how do I make it not boring? I've been thinking about this a lot, and here are a few tips. I've got more on the site. So, and the way that I'm going to frame this is, oftentimes I've heard mediocre advice, and I've probably given this type of advice early on in my career, but I'm going to take mediocre advice that I've heard and I want to make it better. So some of the mediocre advice I've heard before is, choose a great opening. Like, Yeah, of course, that's kind of mediocre advice. But how do you choose a great opening? Well, the better advice, I think, is to begin with a problem that must be solved. And movies do this all the time. Um, Another mediocre piece of advice is, sorry, there was an extra slide that got cut out. But let me just make sure it's not here. Yep, it got cut out. Okay. So a mediocre, let me give an example of that. Begin with a problem that must be solved. Okay. So I had a student who wrote an essay. We began with an epigram, which is like a quote from the Bible. And he said, at the end of the quote, it was about Cain and Abel, the story of the brother who killed the other brother. And he says, here's a secret that no one in my family knows. When I was 6, I shot my brother. And he bled. And he says, fortunately it was a BB gun. But to this day, no one knows. My brother still doesn't know who shot him. And I vowed at the end of this essay to tell him the truth. If you want to read that essay, go to the college essay guide, type in shot my brother. It's a great essay. It begins the problem because we're wondering what's going to happen. And he says, don't worry, I didn't kill him. But he doesn't know I shot him with a BB gun. And I'm going to reveal. So it raises a question. So you can begin with a problem, or you can think of it as a question. And that creates an arc that's not going to be answered. It's not going to come down until the end of the essay. And it's another way of thinking about this is movies, basically, they're launching a question at the beginning. So Finding Nemo, the question of Finding Nemo is really clear. Will they find Nemo? We're waiting for the whole movie to find out. Are they going to find Nemo? The answer at the end when the movie's over, right? Lord of the Rings, same way. You know, take this ring. You know, you got to go destroy it. So you do is destroy the ring. You know, 1 movie, 2 movie, 3 movies. We finally find out the answer. And when the answer comes, the movie's over. Right? In romances, are the people going to fall in love? Are they going to fall in love? Are they going to fall in love? Yes, no, yes, no. No, they don't. Oh, wait, it was a fake ending. Yes, they do. The chicks to the airport. Right? So you can think about your essay as launching a question that doesn't get answered until the end. So that's tip 1. I also hear this tip: show, don't tell. And I think that's good advice, actually. I don't think that it's mediocre per se, generally, because I think it's good to show. In other words, to demonstrate through images and through details your story, what you're trying to say, rather than just tell it, just explain it. You know? But I think better advice is to show first in your essay, and then tell. Because I think admissions readers want to see that you're a good writer, that you can show, but then also you can critically analyze it, and you can tell. Let me show you an example of this. So here's a nice show from that machine's essay on the side. Many nights you'll find me in the garage replacing a standard chrome trim with an elegant piano black finish, or changing the threads on the stitching of the seats to add a personal touch. So you get this show, you get this image of this kid in the garage at night, replacing a car's standard chrome trim with an elegant piano black finish. So he's like tweaking this car, right? Look what happens when you add a tell at the end. So I'm going to read really fast at the beginning. Many nights you'll find me in the garage replacing standard chrome trim with an elegant piano black finish, or changing the thread and stitching on the seats to add a personal touch. As I believe a few small changes can transform a generic product into a personalized work of art. There's a little insight there. That's what I'm arguing for here, is insight. And what is an insight? It's something that you see that I don't see. Or something that, having just read this, I get a little bit more information that gives me a little bit more insight, or a view, I should say, into your perspective. Because that's what I think is the most important thing your essay can do. And how do you do it? Just like this. Take something like this and ask why. And he says, why does he do that? Well, because here's why. This is my take on this. And I think it's better to show first and then tell, because if you switch it, listen to how that sounds. I believe a few small changes can transform a generic product into a personalized work of art. That's why many times you'll find me in the garage replacing standard chrome trim with an elegant piano black finish. I think it's just not as impactful. So the show, like I said earlier, demonstrates you're a talented writer, and the tell demonstrates you're a critical thinker. And I think it's really important to be bold. Okay, I'll skip this example you can find on the website. The mediocre piece of advice number 3 that I've heard is, you get this all the time, is write what you know. I think this is okay, but I would say use geeky language. Let me give you a specific example of what I mean by geeky language. Because you're essentially writing what you know, but I think geeky language is a way to make that pop. So for example, from that machine's essay again, I must really like that essay. I'm the math geek who marvels at the fundamental theorems of calculus, who sees beauty in A equals whatever that says. I can't actually interpret that. I get into the details. One bracket off or one digit missing and the whole equation collapses. Details are more than details. If you mean the difference between negative and positive infinity, an impossible range of solutions. So notice that geeky language. It gives us a little bit of jargon there. He marvels at the fundamental theorems of calculus and shows us an example of what he means. And I look at that and I have no idea what it means. But then he does the thing that I just said, suggested, show, then tell. Rather than just leaving it there, he tells us why it's meaningful. He says it's in the details. In one bracket is if you mean the difference between negative and positive infinity. So there's a little insight in his perspective there. Okay, so oftentimes students ask me, what should I be doing right now? And fortunately I created a resource for it. It looks like this. It's the College Prep Timeline. And you can go to the website, it's on the homepage, and scroll down. And right now, we're in September, attending college fairs, SAT or SAT for the second time. I probably don't need to tell you this because you're probably doing it already. Requesting recommendation letters, deciding to kill upon early action for a decision, and it goes on and on. It's what happens in October, November, and December, etc. And it really maps out, even for juniors in the summer, what they should be doing all the way down through. So, if you're looking for more brainstorming ideas, I put 100 brave and interesting questions on my site. If you just Google interesting questions, I think it's one of the top listings. Or just College Essay Guide interesting questions. There are 100 questions that will help you just go deeper into topics, potential topics, deeper into, it's actually just an interesting list of questions. And if you were just to sit around with your friends and ask them these questions, you have a full evening. Some other stuff that you'll find on the website. How to create an amazing to-do list, how to make your activities list awesome. That activities list is so important. How you phrase those extracurricular activities. A lot of students kind of phone it in and think, oh, whatever, I'll do it right before. But I think it's another essay. It's like your resume or your CV. So I put tips on how to create that. How to create a great college list, and those on there. What I think takes to make an amazing essay. And then I've got some posts on SAT, how to study for the SAT essay, and how to write your why not statement. I've got a lot to say on that, it turns out. When you go to the website, you'll see resources. Most of the stuff on my site is free. Students, parents, and counselors, just click on one of those links from wherever you are. If you click on resources for students, you'll see there's stuff for the personal statement, there's stuff on supplemental essays, and college prep stuff. And then in the bottom right corner, if you click on that, that's my complete guide to the personal statement. And in the complete guide, you'll find everything from session 1 is about finding your deepest story. Session 2 is outlining your essay in an hour. Session 3, how to give feedback and how to revise the essay. 4 is about bringing the essay to life. Session 5 is how to write the 4 types of essays that I talked about, just like a step-by-step guide. In Session 6, I go into some advanced techniques. And there's a complete guide that's for students, that you can work through the whole process on your own, or there's a complete guide for counselors, where you can kind of walk students through the process. And like I said, it's got 6 hours of videos. It's got about 130 pages of PDF curriculum, MP3s, so you can download and listen to them on your phone if you like. And you can watch them as many times as you like. Oh, and you can also watch the first session for free if you just go click on where it says complete guide and click here and watch session 1.1. So, if you want to connect, feel free to email me. My email is ethan@collegeessayguide.com. And that, my friends, is the 157th resource. I'm the 157th resource, so feel free to email me and get in touch. Thanks so much for your time, and I suppose we'll take questions now.
Looks like you're doing an interesting website.
Yeah, I'm doing a live webinar.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I retired from that end of it.
Oh, yeah.
I was a dean for 19 years. Now I just run my consulting. Let's see. I got down here to what the hot tub is broke.
Okay, so we've got a few questions here that I'm going to answer. And Iman has asked, I have a problem with writing essays. What shall I do? That question might have come at the very beginning of the presentation. So what I would say do is go to the website, go to collegeessayguide.com. There are a ton of free resources, and hopefully throughout this call you've gotten some ideas about what to do. But I would say start with the brainstorming, start with the objects exercise, and spend some time looking for what your deepest story is. And that sounds kind of ambiguous, but if you do that objects exercise, you'll have a menu of things to choose from. So that's what I'd say would be one. Second question was, how can I fix my sentence structure? and 6 is in structure or spelled wrong. So what I would say first is proofread. And keep doing that again and again and again until you get better and better and better at that. And Iman, I don't know what year you are or how old you are, but I would say it starts with text messages. Now this sounds weird, but make a commitment to, this is my phone right here, I've had my students do this with me before, make a commitment to writing perfect grammatical texts, because you'll start to get in the habit of writing perfect, perfect, right, speaking more succinctly and more precisely. So I would say, make a vow to send perfect texts. That will help fix your sentence structure. And also, share it with somebody and have your teacher proofread for you. Oscar asked values. That's an awesome insight. Oh, that's not a question at all. That's just saying awesome. Cool. Thanks, Oscar. Han says, what distinguishes the personal statement from the college essay? They're the same thing. So when you're applying to college, you're writing a personal statement, and that's your college essay. You'll have other supplemental essays, which will be for each different college. And so your personal statement will normally, what people refer to, that's the one that you're going to send through the Common App. If you need to know what the Common App is, Google what is the Common App. But it's basically one application that you fill out that sends out to most universities. And so your main personal statement will go out to all those. And individual colleges will have different supplements, which means extra essays that you'll need to write. So for example, UPenn wants to know, well, why do you want to go to UPenn? So you need to write a separate essay that explains why do you want to go to that school in particular, what do you want to study there. And then other schools will ask different things. You can find all those on the Common App. Cindy asks, what exactly needs to be in a college essay? Cindy, your guts on the page is what should be in a college essay. And your guts are going to be different from someone else's guts. What do I mean by your guts? I mean the things that, go to that objects exercise, and what you'll find when you finish that exercise is there will be this collection of moments and details and images that are going to be particular to you. So what needs to be in a college essay, there's no formula. There's nothing that I can tell you that if you write about X, Y, and Z, then you'll get it. Everyone's story is different. That's why it takes so long sometimes to write a college essay. But some of these exercises that I've given hopefully will help you find your story. Zach asks, how unique is too unique? Zach, if you're still on, let me know what you mean by too unique. I don't know if it's possible to be too unique. The simple reason is because of the language. The word unique is an absolute. And if something is unique, it's one of a kind. And so something can't be too one of a kind. It's either one of a kind or it's not. So I hope that's not like a roundabout way. Oh, you're right, Sonny. Does a sense of humor not always appreciated? Should an essay be more professional? I suppose it's kind of a connected question. I think a sense of humor is definitely appreciated, in particular irony. Irony is looking at contradictions or looking at opposites and being able to recognize it, those. So I think if you provide irony in your essay, that's great. In terms of how unique is too unique, I don't know, try me. Maybe you can type in some specifics. I was talking to a rep on the plane yesterday. She began her essay with the line, or he, I don't know if it's he or she, my parents eat ovaries. And I was like, what? And it was about, I think it was about eating eggs. But that kind of threw that reader. But for me, I don't know, that's kind of a funny and interesting start. So it's going to just depend on, the reader, I suppose. Emmanuel asks, is there a recommended amount of words to use in an essay? There are indeed. So the recommended number of words for the Common App is going to be 650 words. So that's 650 words totally. You can't go over that. And for different applications, and this will all be on the Common App. Some of them, the extracurricular essay will be 150 words. Some of the YS statements will vary from 150 words to 650 words. So all that you'll find on the Common App, and you can always Google that for particular schools. Cindy asks, should a college essay be like a writing essay? And I'm not sure what that means exactly. Should a college essay be like a writing essay? Because I guess I'm not sure. I would ask Cindy, what do you mean by writing essay? If what you mean is, should an essay for college be like an essay for school? I think that it's different. I think that, for example, an English literature essay, an AP Lit essay, should be more about analysis, more about digging into the particulars of a particular text. And I think a personal statement is personal. It's more about, it is an analytical, but it's on your own life. And I think that a personal statement is also more vulnerable. And I think that in a lot of the analytical essays, we choose not to use I. we choose not to be animal things. We choose not to be told. We say, oh, here's what I was feeling. I really encourage you to use body expression. I really encourage you to write about your thoughts and feelings and how those have evolved over time. Basu asks, I missed part of your wonderful presentation because the online registration page was frozen for a while. While this, and then the question kind of trails off. So let's see. Oh, here we go. Well, will this webinar be archived and be available for viewing again? Thanks. Yes, as I understand it, Basu, and to everyone else, it will be archived and available on the College Week Live site. You can just contact College Week Live if you can't find it. I hope I'm not giving a bunch of work to College Week Live. But if you also would like, you can email me and in a couple weeks, and I can send you a link. So, other questions? I'll hang out for a couple more minutes if you have any other questions. One just a minute. Here we go. Okay. So Cindy asks, like with the 5 paragraphs, and does the paragraph matter if the details are more broad than bold?
Okay.
With the 5 paragraphs, does the paragraphs matter if the details are more broad and bold? Cindy, clarify for me exactly what you mean by that. You could just give me a little bit more information. What do you mean by if the details are more broad and bold? I'm not quite clear what that means. While you're clarifying that, I'll say just in terms of the structure of your essay, if you can clarify in one sentence what that main paragraph, because if you think about a paragraph as a collection of all these small ideas, but they're all leading up to one thing. And when you've said that, you've made that main point of the paragraph, it's time for a new paragraph. So sometimes, I don't know if you're the type of person who likes to write just a full block of text. Sometimes students will send me just a full block of text, and I'll ask, hey, let's separate them. The thoughts are a little bit easier to understand for the reader when they're separate. So Cindy, maybe you can give me some more information what you mean by that. But if you Google College Essay Guide, How to Revise Essay in 5 Steps, you'll see more on that. That might actually answer your question. Okay, Emmanuel's got another question. He writes, how do you know what to cut out of an essay when you go over the word limit? Okay, good question. So what I would say, Emmanuel, is once you've got your essay, once you've done that exercise of making sure you're really clear on what's going in each paragraph, so 2 ways to do this. Number 1, make sure you know what's going in each paragraph. So after you've written your essay, go back and create an outline of your essay that you just wrote. And then once you've got that new outline, then rewrite your paragraphs. Don't look at the old draft. Write the new paragraphs to fit that new outline. By the outline, I mean to fit those sentences that start each paragraph. So let me say this again a little bit more slowly. You've written an essay. You're like, oh, it's 1,000 words. It's way too long. Go back and figure out, okay, in each paragraph, what are my separate sections? What am I trying to say in the first part? And distill it to one sentence. And then, okay, in the second part, what am I trying to say now? Make sure that the 2 sentences connect. Okay? And the third one, keep going, right? Keep going with that. Once you've done that, you've created a new outline for your essay. Then let the first draft go, or whatever, maybe it's the 12th draft. But let your next draft only focus on those main points you want to make in each paragraph. Once you've done that, I'll pause for just 1 second. Once you've done that, and once you've read really clear on what each section is doing, then you'll probably know your story pretty well. So here's what I suggested. Either A, read the essay to someone, and pay attention to those moments where it feels like, okay, that's kind of a tangent, or, okay, the person seems kind of bored, and just put a little mark beside that. Or B, just tell your story. Ask your friend, hey, can I have 5 minutes of your time? Yeah, and then just tell them your story, and see how your story changes, because it may be that you decide to talk about one section, different from another, or you could leave some section out. It'll tell you what to cut. So, option 1, like I said, Google how to revise your essay in 5 steps. Option 2, just tell your story to someone and ask afterwards, what did you hear? And then note what the different sections are, the different parts are. So Cindy has asked if the essay is structured with details. So Cindy, I'm not sure what you mean by if the essay is structured with details. So maybe you could clarify and complete that, what exactly you mean there. But we'll take a couple more questions. Zach asks, opposite question. What if I'm done and I'm 300 words short? So then I would ask, well, what else? What else is there to say? My suspicion is that if you've written a full personal statement, I guess my question would be, if have you really told your deepest story? Because chances are your deepest story is going to take a little bit more than 300 to 350 words to tell. It's just the experience that I've had. If you can get it into 350 words, chances are it's gotten pretty factual and informational. And some of the textures, some of the ins and outs, the whys and wherefores may not be there. So I'll go back to that, what I suggested to Emmanuel when he asked. I would suggest tell your story to someone and see what extra details you're adding in. And ask that person later, okay, what do you remember that I told you? And then just jot down some of the extra stuff. So that's what I suggest. Let me know if that answers your question. Other questions? Emmanuel asks, how about if the topic you're writing is too personal to talk to a friend about, but not to someone that won't see you like the admissions person? Emmanuel, I would encourage you to be brave and to find a friend that you can really trust. Someone, it doesn't even have to be a close friend. It could be someone, sometimes I find that it's easier for me to open up to people that I don't know super well. So find a stranger, find a mentor. Say, hey, I want to share this with you. I guess the question I would ask, if you're worried about being too personal, is ask us and really think about this question. Emmanuel, what's the worst thing that could happen? If the worst thing is, well, they could tell my parents, and my parents could do this, and I could get put in jail, or they would call Child Protective Services or something really bad, then that's something to consider. But if the worst thing that could happen is something like, well, I might be a little bit embarrassed, I would encourage you to push through that. Because I think it's important. I think it's important to tell your story and to find someone that you can open up to and trust. I think you'll find that it's actually pretty awesome. So I would just encourage you to be brave and make yourself vulnerable. There's someone out there who would love to hear your story, whether it's a counselor, teacher. So share your story. That's my advice. Others? Got a few more minutes. One question here. Oh, Daniel said thanks. No problem. I hope I inspired you. Maybe didn't scare you off. Any other questions? Or anything related to college. I mean, my specialty is college essay, personal statement. But if you've got college-related questions, I'm happy to answer those too. Jonathan said, I just came in. Could you give a short recap? Sorry, Jonathan. I've been talking for 48 minutes. So, and you can email me, and I will send you some resources. But I can't give you a short recap because actually, you know what? I will give you a short recap. Let's see. Dig deep to find your deepest story, and find the big chunks of that story, and then Google how to revise the essay in 5 steps. And then at the end, tell your story to someone. And if the person listens to you and doesn't interrupt, and at the end is silent, and you ask the person, "Do you feel closer to me?" and the person says, "Yes, I feel closer to you," chances are you've written an awesome essay. That's your short recap. How's that?
Great. That's awesome.
Okay.
You're doing great.
All right, Emmanuel, what if the college that you're thinking about going is out of state and you can't go see the campus? There are so many awesome resources. The first one is YouTube. Go YouTube the name of the school and just type in tour. So let's say you want to go to Berkeley. Type in Berkeley tour. You'll find a Berkeley tour. There are a couple websites that you just search online college tours. University TV, YIU is a good one. There are a bunch of them. So good question, and definitely check out the campus. But do a video tour, do a few video tours. Jonathan says, thank you. You're welcome. Cindy says, sometimes you write an essay and it's long, but it's not that great. And does it matter if the essay is short, has great details, and also grab reading's attention, but can it be accepted or considered as a college essay? So Cindy, I'm having a little trouble understanding the question. Let me try and break it down. Let me try it, and others feel free to ask questions. So, sometimes you write an essay and it's long, but it's not that great. Yes, I do know. I know when that happens. And does it matter if the essay is short but has great details? I would say it's important to go between 500 to 650 words. Go ahead and use the words, and use all the words that they're going to give you. And also grab I think you mean reader's attention, but it can be accepted or considered as a college essay. And Cindy, on this one, I'm still not clear on what you're saying. So if you wouldn't mind, if you want to retype your question and just clarify. Cindy, one thing I would encourage you to do, just because I'm noticing that I've been having some trouble understanding some of the things you've been typing, is just before you click send, and I would say do this for your writing, whether it's an email, whether it's a text message, a Facebook message, whatever it is just read it over once more to yourself to make sure the whole thing makes sense. And, just to, using complete sentences, that sort of thing. So I would just recommend that. That's not maybe passive-aggressive. It's just something that I've found works. Just, revising all the time. Because if you start the practice in life and your other types of writing, it'll end up helping at college. Other questions? Okay, let's see if we go on from Emmanuel. A question's like, is there anything else the committee needs to know about you that is pertinent to the nomination process? What's a good thing to write about? Good question. Okay. So, let's say first I would say this, Emmanuel, here's a trick you can do. Go to that values list on the website. And, again, it's a free resource. Just go to College Essay Guide values list. And put a circle or a check mark. You can copy and paste it, print it out. But beside all the values that you want to show. So let's say you want to show that you're really organized and you're really creative and you're responsible. Let's make them different. Organized. Let's say you're responsible, you're creative, and you're really obsessed with science. And let's say your main essay talks about your obsession with science. But let's say you still haven't really shown that you're creative or that you're really responsible. Well, what your other essays can do and what other parts of your application can do is to show all those different values. So the thing here is just name all the values. Like put a circle around like 20 values that you want to show. Okay? And once you've written your main essay, and you've written your supplemental essays, and then you've completed your activities list, see which of those, like which one of these is showing which of these values, and how is it doing that? So it's an easy way to just kind of do a quick scan of your whole application, and to go, it's all of me, Emmanuel, are all the complexities of me showing up across the application. And it probably is that, I'm not really showing my creativity. Could I be showing it more clearly? Or it might be like, I kind of showed my personal statement, but I could more clearly demonstrate how creative I am, how important creativity is to me. So I would say, step one, chart all the values. Step two, look and see how the values are charting out over your essay. Are they or are they not? Could they be clearer? Step three, add in, decide what could go in that, for example, the additional, it's called the additional info section of the Common App. Is there anything else we need to know? Yeah, what are those other values, and how could you work those values in? Could be that you write a little extended statement on an internship because you feel like you could show these X, Y, and Z values. So basically, it's your chance to get all of you into that application, because chances are, if you've just written a couple, like let's say the school's just asked for the main statement and activities list, there's probably some other stuff about you. There's probably some interesting things about you that are not making on the application yet. So that's a way to find out what those things are. We got about 6 more minutes. Any questions? And I'm happy to answer particular essay questions. If students, if you have stuff that you're working on, or counselors or parents, if you have particular questions about working with students, particular challenges that you come up against. So this is it, students. This is your chance to get free essay advice on your particular essay issues. General questions are fine too. Question comes in. Emma says, thanks, very helpful, excited to check out the website. Great, we do. Emmanuel says, how important is employment history on admission application for scholarships? I'd say it varies. you're not going to get docked per se if you don't have an employment history. I guess I would ask you, Emmanuel, do you have employment or not employment? If you don't have employment, there's nothing you can do about it. If you can't go get a job, I guess you could go get a job, but if you haven't done it, if you're a senior, for example, in 12th grade, and you haven't done it, it's too late now to go back in time. So I wouldn't worry about it. It's one of those things that kind of falls in the category of like, well, I can't really control it. What you could do, though, is on that additional info section, if demonstrating that you're a hard worker and that you're willing to work is important to you and you don't have an employment history to demonstrate that, you could find another way through, for example, an extracurricular activity or a club to demonstrate those values that you feel like having an employment history would demonstrate. So, how important is it in general? I think if you do have it, writing about it in a scholarship essay could be really great because, just demonstrating that you've worked and that you're willing to work. A job. It doesn't matter the job, whether it's, going in a video store, working at McDonald's like I did when I was 15, that was my first job. Or, it could be working or, it could, another thing to consider is that you might have an employment history even if you don't think you do. What I mean by that is, you might think, well, I babysit my sister a lot, but when my mom's like working, but that's not really important. But if that becomes something that's like you've been doing, it's kind of maybe kept you from spending more time with extracurriculars, or it's maybe kept you from, doing your homework sometimes. You don't want to exaggerate too much. You want to be real and be authentic. But if you spent a lot of time doing that, and particularly if there was financial hardships in the family and it necessitated you babysitting, it could be that you actually have worked. And I've had students who've written childcare responsibilities on their application because it's a legit thing. Or work in church. Sometimes they think, oh, no, that's not really work. But it is work. If you're taking care of a room full of kids and you're teaching, you may not be getting paid for it, but you could consider it. You make sure you specify whether it's paid or not paid. But, there are lots of ways to do employment history is, I think, paid and not paid. Just make sure you specify. Joanne says, thanks for your advice. How do you answer questions regarding your favorite book, play, etc., when you don't have a particular favorite or no interest? Okay, so there are like two questions there. So, favorite book, play, etc., when you don't have a particular favorite. Well, when you don't have a particular favorite, I would say write a bunch. Like, write as many as you can. Let's see, if it's a question, most of the questions ask, give us a list of them. For example, Stanford, UPenn, Brown, maybe. They ask you to list a bunch. So list a bunch and use that as an opportunity to show your variety of interests. I had a student I was working with last week who was like, I read this book in Bulgarian, I read this book in Korean, and I read this book in German. And I was like, amazing, He's like, which ones should I put? I was like, put them all, because he's got 150 words on the Brown application. I think it's Columbia, maybe. So I said, great, that's beautiful. So if you don't have a particular favorite, show some variety. Use that as an opportunity. I like to think of it as if you think of an advent calendar, and each one is a little window into who you are. So use those little windows. And if you have no interest, that's tough. Go get some interest. Or go with the stuff that you kind of like. I guess that's the second path. If you're totally not interested, I wouldn't leave that blank. I wouldn't say, for example, I'm not interested in something that necessarily would help your application. I would say pick the ones that were interesting to you, were the most interesting to you. Emmanuel asks, scholarship question. What do you consider to be your most significant contribution to your school or community? Why was it important to others, to you? So what is your question, Emmanuel, about that? Let me know. I think that what do you consider your most significant contribution to your school or community? This sounds to me like kind of a reworked extracurricular essay. So if you go to my website and check out how to write a elite UC2 essay, or if you just search UC2 in the search box, it'll pop up with a quick how to write an extracurricular essay, and it talks about which extracurricular activity to write about. Do you write about a passion project that you really care about, or do you write about the most impressive one? So I answer those kind of questions there. So check out how to write a UC2 essay, because I think the answer to that will help you, or how writing that essay is basically the same as this essay. Make sure you answer those questions on why it was important to others, and demonstrate concrete impact. In other words, did you raise money? How much money did you raise? Did you recruit new members? How many new members? So demonstrate impact. And why was it important to you is so important. Go to that values list and look at the values that you got out of that. You don't have to come up with 10, but 1 or 2 specific values that you got out of it. And here's another final tip. Choose non-obvious values. So, like working at the hospital, talking about helping others, kind of boring. But working at the hospital taught me the value of creativity. Ooh, that's interesting. Choose something that's not immediately obvious when you're writing about an extracurricular activity. Think about what all the other essays about whatever club you're going to write about or activity, all the other, for example, violin essays. Oh, it's about expressing myself. Well, everybody says that. But a violin essay that talks about democracy. Wow, that's cool. I want to read that essay. So, that's my final tip. Thanks so much for your time. Check out the website, collegeessayguide.com, and have a beautiful day.